Hi, thank you for listening to this recording. And this recording and video was made specifically for those of us who've had enough. We're sick and tired of waiting for government to do what they're supposed to do. We're sick and tired of waiting for someone else to fix the problems or for that big money to find us. And if you're that person who have reached that point of sick and tired and you're concerned about what world are we passing on to our grandchildren, and you have the determination and desire to do something about it, I have good news for you. In this presentation, you will find the tools, the strategy that will enable you, without having to wait for permission from government or big money to find you, to already become that change agent that can turn your world into a better world. So the question is, what world are we passing on to our grandchildren? Unfortunately, the whole world has been designed to become a quick fix, me, mine, I now mentality world, which has resulted in a current lack of resources monopolized, economic slavery, destroyed, fragmented families, corruption, poverty, high unemployment, high crime rate, and destroyed infrastructures. Whereas what we really would like to leave our children is a three-generational world where we build for the future of our children's children, one of abundance, resources unlocked, economic freedom, whole families, stewardship, poverty eradicated, low or no crime, and functional and maintained infrastructures. So before we get into this, define community. Community is a group of individuals sharing common values, interests, or geographic location who interact with one another on a more frequent basis than with others outside the community. Now, there are many types of communities. There would be the geographical residential one that's based on locality. Then there's that of practice, like medical or legal professions dealing with one another. Virtual, the typical Facebook, internet kind of communities, and in circumstance, through trauma, people reaching out to each other and form a community. But none of those communities will function unless we fix the first one, geographical residence, specific location. And here's our challenge. Currently, every community you can think of is drifting apart, fragmented, no trust. If you look at the north-south, east-west axis, and you look at the big social community drivers, on the east-west axis, on extremes, you would find business and all the businesses in that town or community. And on the other extreme, all the social support structures, churches, NGOs. And normally there's a huge distrust amongst them, where business says, my money is good enough for you, but for the rest, you make me out to be the bad person in the story. And on the north-south axis, it speaks for itself. Current local authorities, specifically in South Africa, couldn't care less for their residents. And residents say, we're only good enough for you for once in 4 years for our vote, but for the rest, you ignore us and look at the state of our town. And this total distrust, and no amount of money from government or churches thrown at the problem is going to fix it until we stop moving away from each other and start moving towards each other. Because right now, this results in dysfunctional economies, dysfunctional families, lack of basic education or life skills, lack of godly governance. And the big reason is there's a total absence of a biblical value system. This absence of a biblical value system is best illustrated by this slide, where if you take God's direction and his spirit out of the picture, you're left with the soul man only, the mind, the will, the emotion. And we all have strong wills and emotions and minds, but then you have total confusion because we're trying to fix things from our perspective of understanding. And someone says, no left, no right, no forward, no, let's turn around. And within this total chaos, you then have the positioning of me, my identity, the individual. I'm totally lost. I don't know who I am. And now with the wokeness around us, people don't even know what genders they are. In terms of my family, I'm losing contact with my family. We fragmented. Neighbor, well, who's he or she? Community, what community? And that's the total confusing world absent from God. So how do we fix this? We have to bring God back into the picture. And once you bring God back into the picture where he's in a relationship, direct relationship, personal relationship with each individual in the community, and that individual has his identity, and his identity is restored with his family. He knows who his neighbor is, and he works actively within the community. Now we have a healthy, restored family, neighbor, community structure. I love this little story of the dad coming home. He's tired. He just wants to have a cup of coffee and read his newspaper. And his boy keeps pestering him and says, Dad, play with me. And Dad realized this boy's not going to give up. And he says, okay, I'm going to give you a puzzle to complete. And once you completed the puzzle, then we'll have a game. And he rummaged around in old magazines. He came across a map of the world. And he took the map of the world out of the magazine, and he cut it into pieces, and he gave him some sellotape, and he said, all right, if you can fix the world, put the world back into place, then we can go and play. And he thought this will buy him some time because the boy is too small to understand the relationship of Asia to USA to Africa and so forth. Well, 15 minutes later, the boy was back. Puzzle completed. Perfect. And Dad was amazed. He says, how did you manage to do it? He said, Dad, it was easy. When you pulled out that picture, at the back of the picture was a picture of the man. And all I did, I put the man back together and the world fell into place. And that's what we need to do. We need to, first of all, start with our own families and then our communities, and then we can fix the world. So to bring in the longevity thing, I'm also part of the GIG community that stands for Generational Inheritance Group. Many years ago, we found a template whereby any family could become the next generational family, moving from struggle to stability to success to significance. And in working with us on this project, you'll hear more about this, or you can look us up. But as there is a journey for the family, so there is a journey for the business. And we just call it from startup, stability, success, significance. And the characteristics is in startup or struggle, you have negative cash flow. In stability, you've got positive cash flow. In success, you have choices, more than one income stream. And significance is then the reason why you're here on earth for, so that your life has meaning and fulfillment. The exciting news is now for the first time, we can also unpack the journey of the community from struggle to stability to success to significance, which we will dig into deeper throughout the course of this presentation. I introduce to you the Community Chamber of Commerce model based on shared kingdom values and principles that will become the center of gravity that pull that community together from its various drivers, business, local authority, social support structures, and residents. But then we have to agree on the kingdom values and principles. As we go through these kingdom values and principles, ask yourself if you can agree to it, because it's a filter. If you can't agree to it, all right, then this model is not for you. The first one is to have a sensitivity to the Holy Spirit's guidance on building according to the kingdom blueprint. It's no good to go back and just put plasters on what used to work and try and fix that. Let's think fresh. What would our community look like if God had to build this community? Let's think from scratch. And that's what we mean by that first one. And let's do it in a way that gives God the glory alone. No man, there's no hero. We're not looking for a man-made Messiah. And in everything that we do, we put God first, and we keep asking, Father, what do you see? Jesus, what would you do? Holy Spirit, what do you want us to do? And then servant leadership, stewardship, loving action. And when Jesus was confronted with which of all the laws of Moses is the most important, he gave them this one law: love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. And that's what's referred to here. Then long term, we already said, unless we build for the generation of our grandchildren, we will make very stupid, quick fix decisions that will not last. What we do is full inclusivity. Everyone is respected and involved, but we say unity, not uniformity. We respect the diversity of people. Voice of the community. Everyone has a voice, even the person that might be unemployed for now, but he might have insight as to what could help fix the town. Righteousness, no tolerance for corruption, self-promotion, and justice, always doing the right thing, however inconvenient. Excellence, finding the best person for the job based on skill, passion, experience. So work on merit. Sanctity of life speaks for itself. And then integrity, transparency, honesty, and accountability. And lastly, fairness. Everyone is considered equal. So we said, what is our foundation for absolute truth? For too long, the only so-called truth in the marketplace was the golden rule. He who owns the gold makes the rules. We go back to biblical based. That has been a saving grace for many nations over many, many years and decades. And our biblical scriptures for what we're teaching is then Matthew 16, let your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Meaning God's already got a plan for earth. So let's just hear about it and let's execute it. Matthew 6:33, but seek, aim at, and strive after first of all his kingdom and his righteousness, his way of doing and being right, and then all these things taken together will be given you besides. Luke 10:27, and he replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance of moral stability and goodness to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner finds its way eventually into the hands of the righteous, for whom it was laid up. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts and plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Thoughts and plans for welfare and peace and not for evil, to give you hope in your final outcome. Proverbs 3 from 7 to 28, but the key verse there, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do it. Isaiah 6 verse 8, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Then I said, here am I, send me. And that's the kind of people we hope to reach with this message. John 10:10, the thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come so that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. And we make it abundantly clear that we are on the side of him who have come to give us life and abundantly. Then Philippians 2:12, work out, cultivate, carry out to the goal, and fully complete your own salvation with reverence and awe and trembling, self-distrust, with serious caution, tenderness of conscience, watchfulness against temptation, timidly shrinking from whatever might offend God and discredit the name of Christ, not in your own strength, for it is God who is all the while effectually at work in you, energizing and creating in you the power and desire both to will and to work for his good pleasure and satisfaction and delight. Acts 17:26, and he made from one common origin, one source, one blood, all nations of men to settle on the face of the earth, having definitely determined their allotted periods of time and the fixed boundaries of their habitation, their settlements, lands, and abodes. So the one nation or one tribe is not more important than the other tribe. Ephesians 3 verse 20, never doubt God's mighty power to work in you and accomplish all this. He will achieve infinitely more than your greatest request, your most unbelievable dream, and exceed your wildest imagination. He will outdo them all, for his miraculous power constantly energizes you. This was taken from the Passion Translation. So let's unpack for the first time a journey of communities according to the 4 S's. So where is your community right now? Is it in phase 1, struggle? And we also refer to it, then we need to reset it. So struggle is where, like a boat full of holes, taking in water, and you can try and scoop out the water as fast as you can, but unless you plug the holes, your boat's not going to float. And that's where many communities find themselves right now. So in struggle, your characteristics would be high crime, high unemployment, poor infrastructure and resources, fragmented community, and a sense of hopelessness. So how do we get this going? All we need in that community is to identify the community founders. And what we like about Kingdom Principles is the economy is it starts very small because it can multiply. Where 2 or 3 agree on earth on anything, then God is in the midst, and it will be so for them. So we need 2 or 3 people, kingdom-minded, willing to start looking at their community through the eyes of God, hopefully coming out of business or even ministry. And this whole process will be bathed in prayer, so that it's not just man-made cleverness that we put down together. Then from there, we do a resource audit, and we check how many businesses are in our community, how many ministries or NGOs are functioning in our community, what is their educational state, are there schools, what's the infrastructure, the roads, the energy, the water, what's the level of security, is there crime, family health, is there lots of single parent families or even no parents in the family? What is the quality of the local governance? And all of this will give us an idea of what need to be fixed. And then to do an initial community vision, what from God's eyes would he like to see in terms of employment? Normally 100% employment, good infrastructure, education, youth, crime. So we look at all of those, and then we mobilize vision bearers. So if the 2 initial founders are no longer young people, they can't really speak on behalf of youth. So we need to have a vision bearer for the youth, a vision bearer for business, ministry, and so forth. And that would become the initial eldership of the town or the community. And then we'll finalize the constitution. We have a template which spells out the rules for that town, which they then finally agree to. And out of that, we sign a support agreement with the National Resource Center of South Africa. And that starts the community to stop the holes in the boat, reset, and start moving forward so that you can get to number 2. Now, in phase stability, we're busy with restoration. What are the characteristics of that community? Hope is restored. There's a common vision. There's productive action. There are plans in place to lower crime and unemployment. And we're busy with unlocking of resources. Now, throughout this process, we keep it soaked in prayer and a sensitivity to the Holy Spirit guidance. But our first step is now to appoint the board of elders and stewards. Now, elders would then be, and I will go into it more detail just now, but would be the representatives of businesses or ministry that bring their solutions to the table, and stewards would be operational managers, but we call them stewards. So in all the areas, we will then have representatives. We will finalize and implement plans. For instance, an employment plan could be as simple as one of the businesses in town agreed to make apprenticeship program available to 1 apprentice every year. That's already a plan to address employment and so forth for all the other areas. Then to mobilize community teams to implement these plans. And we foresee that we will have lots of volunteers, similar to the YWAM organization worldwide, to help restore the town, and in the process for those volunteers to build up skills, improve their CVs, and we even have plans to remunerate people in time with the things like time units. And then to raise capital for the various projects. As an organized entity, there would be ability now to tap into various resources and also to unlock idle resources. There could be a factory that 50% of the factory is not used, then that could be repurposed to maybe for a community center or a place for youth to start doing things. And then we will open up a local Community Chamber of Commerce account and establish financial systems so that transparency and stewardship is restored. Then that leads us to phase 3, success. People are now released into their giftings, characteristics. There's abundance, there are choices, there are low or zero crime, unemployment, growing resources and projects, and unique positioning. So what do we mean by unique positioning? We believe for every town or community, there's a unique, almost calling or gift. If I can use the example of Clarence with their beautiful landscape, they've also made it almost a artist town that people go there to buy art and things like that and just break away for the weekend. But the calling of Clarence is different from George, different from Fourways. So it's for each community to find their uniqueness, and that can help to tap into tourism income. The community is happy, it's involved, there's a sense of belonging and co-ownership. Succession plans are implemented. For instance, that guy that started off as an apprentice, then got employed, then started his, and might even move out and become his own business or become a manager in that company and later on take over the business. And that's what we mean by succession planning. And then we foresee 100% cooperation and collaboration between community and local government, buying into the vision. And we'll also establish and work towards having a growing community development fund that would be able to fund SME activities and also infrastructure. For instance, let's say the town have a problem with stable energy, then what about in future set up an energy farm for that town? But again, everything we do, keep the process soaked in prayer and sensitivity to the Holy Spirit guidance. Now, a typical town, if it's done correctly, would then have the following characteristics. Its economical and social impact will be that because it's now organized and structured, we can now tap into local government funding that was always there but never reached the town. It was hijacked along the way. But in the provincial economic plan, there was money earmarked to reach the community for cutting grass and fixing potholes and doing all sorts of things. Then in business, the CSI, social investment funding, social development, enterprise development, tax incentives, all those money can now flow into the town. We have an entity that can give Section 18A certificates to donors, where we can even raise money through donors for the various projects. And because our focus is then for economic upliftment, who knows, we might find something in that town that can become a huge new source of employment and even bring in foreign capital. But to raise it up, we will get local venture capital and even national from the JSE or international. And then the purpose of these funds is to build infrastructure, create employment, and ensure sustainable businesses. The key to this whole program, however, is the link with the National Resource Center. Now, this National Resource Center is an ever-expanding resource center available to all local communities. And currently, it consists of the following. GFC stands for Global Federation of Chambers. They're a national entity with impact nationally and internationally and can bring opportunities to the table like famous brands that wants to have a presence in their town. ICCC stands for International Christian Chamber of Commerce. They're in 70 countries, but we also have a branch in South Africa that can help to set up a Chamber of Commerce activity from a Christian perspective and eventually tap into international markets. We have a Community Chamber of Commerce Trust that has a PBO number and can issue 18A certificates to any of the community chambers. Then we have GIG, the movement, which consists of a cooperative bank where members can tap into interest-free loans and other activities. And we also have the GIG Wealth Asset Management group that is linked to the FSCA. Then we work with Vertiply, which is a fintech company that has developed a community wallet with multiple stores of value. For instance, you can have fiat currency on it, you can have gold on it, silver on it, and in time, even time units, and later on asset-based tokens, where we can take any business and tokenize it. Kingdom Global, it's an entity from one of our colleagues that goes around, that has a presence internationally, but also then teaches people what is meant by kingdom. How do you operate as a kingdom community? And then in time, we will have many more other alliance partners, and we'll also develop specialists in every discipline. We already have top people in legal, in business administration, in accounting, and we'll also then develop tools and templates that makes life very easy for the local community. So that, in a nutshell, is the economic and social impact that such a community could have. And then ultimately, they would move to their phase 4, significance, where the community is fulfilled, sense of purpose and meaning, momentum in all areas. And then at that level, we will ask that community just to adopt one or more other towns and cities who are still on their journey. And that way, we will start growing a regional, national community based on kingdom principles. So the key to this whole thing is with the community, the National Resource Center structure. So we will have board of elders at community level, later on regional, national, international. And that board of elders would engage with kingdom partners, and I will give a further definition just now, alliance partners, onboard specialists, systems and tools, so that we can then engage into practical projects, local, regional, national, international, that can rebuild the economy of our country. Now, when we talk about the definition of these various entities, National Resource Center would then be the free association of kingdom and alliance partners, local, regional, national, managed by a board of elders. The NRC will identify and contract with kingdom and alliance partners through an alliance agreement. It will enter into support agreements with the local CCCs and will build those national support structures that can assist local Cs in all their aspects of becoming thriving and self-sustained communities. And then board of elders, who are they? It's a current head or representative of an existing kingdom ministry willing to collaborate on the kingdom communities initiative. Eldership to the board is by invitation only and upon the endorsement of at least 2 existing board members. Elders are responsible for the onboarding of kingdom and alliance partners, growing local CCCs, grow the panel of specialists, help develop tool system structures that can accelerate the kingdom community projects on a national and even international scale. Since eldership is a voluntary position and not elected, there's no fixed term in office. The elder will only be asked to vacate his position if his business or ministry no longer aligns with the kingdom community's vision, or the elder engaged in behavior that can cause reputational damage. Should an existing elder retire or becomes incapacitated through illness, he can nominate a replacement from his ministry to the board, subject to majority board approval. Kingdom partners are people representing existing kingdom ministries that sees value in collaborating on this kingdom community vision, must be businesses, ministries, and or NGOs with a track record of being kingdom ministries, endorsed by an existing kingdom partner, and they will have the benefit of free access to any of our communities via the NRC platform to expand their kingdom mandate. Alliance partners is any business that believes in the kingdom vision and subscribe to a biblical view of the world. Endorsed by existing kingdom or alliance partner, also free access to communities. And then our proposed funding model for this activity is then to look at a free membership model at all levels, but funding through the tithing principle or cost replacement referral basis. And again, these are just proposals from community to community, it can differ, but the principle says, if as a result of these structures, a project now come into being, then let's make the community a 10% shareholder of that project, so that 10% of the funds can flow into that community. And then for that community, we will request that they then pay over a tithe of their income to the National Resource Center. So we can do all the stuff at that level. Or a replacement referral fee basis would be, if I'm a professional, I would normally market my services through the media or however I do it. Now that I have access through the NRC and I get business that way, what I would have spent on marketing, I'm now making it available as a donation to the local chamber. And out of that, they then pay a tithe over into the national fund. So that's just the proposed principle, which we will agree with every community as we move into it. So just a few illustrations to show the power that can happen if a community is like-minded and focused. So the one illustration is what's called the multiplication effect of circulating money in the community. And as a gig cooperative bank, we have successfully illustrated this since 2011. So let's assume that in your community, you can get 100 members committed to saving 100 Rand a month each. That would give you 10,000 Rand of new money coming in. So with your new money, you can make your own rules on that money. For the sake of this illustration, we say only members can then borrow this money interest-free, but they have to be able to pay it back over 5 months. And since we can only give out what we've got, once you borrow it, you stand in the queue and wait until everybody had a chance. So to unpack this model, we say in month 1, 10 comes in, 10 is available to go out. It comes back as 2222 over the next 5 months. A new 10 comes in month 2 plus the 2 that's repaid. We now have 12 available to repay. And that comes back as 242424. In month 3, the 10 plus the 2 plus the 24 gives us 14.4 that can go out as money to our members. And if I fast track this now to 12 months, over 12 months, we have gained or got in 120,000 Rand, that if we just put it in the bank, it would still just be 120,000 Rand. But the way it circulates at zero interest to our community, our ability to give out loans have grown from 10,000 in month 1 to 44,000 in month 12. And if we have to, if we add it up, that gives us 315,000 Rand that was actually lent, given to people, real money to pay real bills, to buy real equipment. And if we have to stop the business at month 12 and just waiting for the money that's in circulation to be paid back, a further 75,000 will come back. And that indicates that we have created an economy of 391,000 Rand with just 120 because of the way we do it. In other words, in any community where you apply this principle, you can improve the economy of that community by 3 times in 1 year, just by applying this principle. To further unpack it, a lot of people will say, but this is like Stokvel. Stokvel is where 10 people come together and say, each put in 1,000. This month, it's all my money, but I have to also put up the party, and hoping that 10 months later, the group still continues. So it's fun, but it doesn't really build economy. And what we've done in our model is, in the cooperative bank, you get the use of 3 times what you've invested interest-free. And as you keep on investing, your potential loan amount increases. So that's just that one illustration. The second illustration is the power of synergy resulting from like-minded people. And for this illustration, or this formula, I got it from my friend Trevor Nell, who took 2 companies to listing, and I had the privilege of working with him in the Chamber of Commerce for a few years. So what this formula says is P squared minus P divided by 2 equals S, where P are like-minded people and S would be synergistic or sustainable job opportunities. So in example 1, if we put 10 people that work together and are like-minded, 10 times 10 is 100, minus 10 is 90, divided by 2 is 45. They can, over time, these 10 people would be able to create 45 sustainable growing job opportunities. Now put 1,000 in that equation. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000 minus 1,000. It's 999,000 divided by 2. It's 499,500. Almost 500,000 jobs can be created if 1,000 people just work together. So, in closing, what is the vision? If we look at South Africa with an estimated population of 60 million and an ideal community size of 30,000 residents per community, this points to 2,000 potential communities. If we agree that the current state of South Africa, that there's a growing state of enough is enough, let's take our power back, coupled with the fact that more than 85% of the people declare themselves as Christians, we believe it's possible to build 1,000 thriving communities on the CCC model. So the phased approach to this target would be to identify the first 5 to 20 communities and do a pilot phase. Then after that, we implement it and reach a further 200 communities. And from there, we grow as much as we can, but we believe 50% of the market is possible. So if not us, who? If not now, when? And if we start where we're at with what we have, God won't leave us where we're at, and He will multiply what we have. So what are we going to do about it? Please join the Thriving Communities Movement as a founder of your community. And in the next slide, we will then give you the contact people that you can contact if you're ready to join, whether it's just as one of the executors in some aspect of a community project or even as one of the founders. It's up to you. But please contact us. Let's take hands. Let's move this thing forward. God bless.